Who are you when no one is looking? I mean, really, when there's no audience, no applause, no one to impress, who do you become? I used to think I knew the answer to that question. I thought I was the same person in private as I was in public. Same values, same energy, same version of myself. But one night, one very quiet, very ordinary night, I found out the truth. And it changed everything. It was late, maybe 1 a.m., the kind of late where the whole world feels like it's holding its breath. My family was asleep. The lights were off in every room except mine, and I was sitting on the floor, not the bed, the floor, with my back against the wall and my knees pulled up to my chest. I had my phone in my hand, but I wasn't scrolling. I wasn't texting anyone. I wasn't doing anything productive. I was just sitting there. And then something strange happened. A thought crept in, quiet and honest, the kind of thought that only comes when nobody's watching. It said, "This is who you actually are." Not the version of me that posts about growth and discipline, not the version that smiles through hard days and says, "I'm fine," with total confidence. Not the version that shows up polished and put together for the world. This version, sitting on the floor, alone, with the lights off. And I had to ask myself, is this person someone I'm proud of? See, I'd spent so much time performing happiness, performing strength, performing like someone who had it all figured out. And I was good at it. People believed it. Sometimes I even believed it myself. But alone, in the dark, the performance stops. The mask comes off. And what's underneath, that's the real you. Let me be honest with you, because I think you deserve honesty more than you deserve a polished speech. When nobody's watching, I've done things I'm not proud of. I've stayed in bed when I told myself I'd wake up early. I've eaten badly when I promised myself I'd be healthier. I've opened social media when I said I was going to read a book. I've cried over things I told everyone I was completely over. I've picked up my phone at midnight to check if someone, a specific someone, had texted back. They hadn't. And I'd put the phone down, then pick it up again, then put it down. 3, 4, 5 times. I've sat with old memories like they were guests I didn't invite but couldn't send away. I've whispered things to myself that I would never say out loud. Things like, "You're not enough." Things like, "Why does this keep happening to you?" Things like, "Maybe they were right about you." And here's the terrifying part. Nobody knew. Nobody could see it. From the outside, I looked fine. I looked together. I looked like someone moving forward. But privately, I was losing little battles every single day. And I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was one night that broke me open. I had just come home from a gathering. People had laughed at my jokes. Someone had said, "You always seem so happy." Someone else said, "I don't know how you manage everything so well." I smiled. I thanked them. I drove home. And then I walked into my empty room, sat down on that floor again, and I just broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. The way things break when they've been holding on for too long. I didn't call anyone. I didn't text anyone. I just sat there in the silence and let myself feel it. All the weight I'd been carrying around like it was nothing. The exhaustion. The loneliness that exists even when you're surrounded by people. The gap between who you are in public and who you are at 1 a.m. on your bedroom floor. I sat with that gap for a long time. And then, and I don't know exactly when it happened, something shifted. I stopped being ashamed of it. Here's what I've learned, and I mean really learned, not just intellectually understood, but felt in my bones. The person you are when nobody is watching is not your weakness. It's your truth. And your truth is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to be worked with, gently, honestly, without judgment. Because here's the thing about private moments. They're not failures, they're feedback. When you reach for your phone at midnight, it's not weakness, it's longing. And longing is human. When you cry about something you said you were over, it's not embarrassing, it's honesty. And honesty takes courage. When you stay in bed a little longer than you should, it's not laziness. Sometimes it's your body asking for something your pride won't let you ask for out loud. I started paying attention to my private moments differently. Instead of judging myself for them, I started getting curious about them. Why do I do this? What is this behavior telling me about what I actually need? What am I afraid to admit, even to myself? And slowly, the gap between my public self and my private self started to close. Not because I became better at performing, but because I stopped performing. I started being the same person in the dark as I was in the light. And that right there is the hardest and most important work a human being can do. So tonight, or whenever you hear this, I want you to think about something. When nobody is watching, what do you do? What thoughts do you let yourself have? What do you reach for when the world isn't looking? I'm not asking so you can judge yourself. I'm asking because the answer to that question holds more information about who you truly are and who you truly want to be than any version you've ever shown anyone. Your private self is not your shadow. It's your foundation. And if the foundation needs work, that's okay. That's not failure. That's awareness. And awareness is always the first step. You are allowed to be a mess when nobody is watching. You are allowed to cry, to ache, to struggle, to not have it figured out. But you're also allowed to grow, quietly, privately, without announcing it to anyone. The best growth often happens in the dark, like seeds underground, working their way to light, with no audience and no applause. So tonight, or whenever you hear this, I want you to leave you with one thing. Be kind to the version of yourself that no one ever sees. That version is working the hardest. That version is carrying the most. That version deserves the most compassion, not judgment. Because who you are when nobody is watching, that's who you really are. And that person is worth showing up for. If this touched something in you, something real, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might not know who that person is, but something inside you will. Take care of yourself, in the light, and especially in the dark.